have some orange juice here. Got my orange juice. I'm trying to take good care of myself. Trying to get better as fast as I can. Oh, I'm sweating. I don't know if it's because it's hot or because I'm not well. Under the weather. I have a cold. Where did I put my, I got all these props for today. Where did I put my prop? I don't know. The prop in question being my negative COVID test. Yay, I don't have COVID. So I know that this is, should I do a book haul? I mean, it's already a pretty long video. Should I do a book haul? Look at how much energy I have for somebody who's not feeling well. I just get so excited when I talk about books. Hi everyone, it's me, Jazz. I feel like I have something like COVID. I have some kind of a cold flu situation. I've taken some medication for the symptoms. About half an hour ago, they seem to be working. I will try to edit out every sniffle, sneeze, cough, etc. Sorry for the nasal, congested sound in my delivery, my congested delivery. Not much I can do about that. But I still wanted to film a video this weekend, and of course this is going to go up pretty late. I don't even know if I'll be able to edit it before the Booker shortlist comes out. Which is a bit of a shame, but what can you do when life throws you a curveball, as they say? I wanted to come on to talk about the National Book Awards long list a little bit, talk a little bit about the Booker shortlist. Although I have to say, I haven't read that many of the Booker long-listed books, despite my good intentions. Part of this has to do with reading other books, and part of it just has to do with the problem of getting the books. I finally have a copy of the Safekeep, which has come in at my local library, and I'm going to try to get up there today to pick it up because I'm quite anxious to read that one because I've heard so many good things about it. And I also really want to read a Stoneyard devotional, but I can't seem to get my hands on it. The libraries here, anyway, don't have that book. I'm not sure if it's because it's not published. I think it's published, but I have to request it from my library. Creation Lake has just come out here and has just come in to libraries, so I don't have my hands on a copy of that yet. But I did end up with not one, but 2 copies of my friends, because I requested it from 2 different libraries and they both came in, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take them both out just in case. I don't know why I did that. I feel like kind of a jerk because I feel like that somebody else probably should have one of these, but I was worried that I wouldn't be able to renew, and I think I might have to renew. Anyway, so I'm going to try to read that. I did manage to get Enlightenment, but I've been hearing such mixed reviews about Enlightenment that I'm not sure that I want to start it, because I know for sure that I want to read My Friends and the Safekeep. And the other one that's come in at my local library is The Strange Eventful History by Claire Messud. That has also come in. I had taken out and returned Held because I didn't have a chance to read it. Of course, I read James, and I've already talked about James on my channel, how much I enjoyed it. And so that means that the only 2 books that I've actually read from the list are James, and I just finished Wild Houses by Colin Barrett. I've already talked about James on my channel, how much I loved it. So I don't think I need to, so I'm not going to go back over my review of James. I'll leave a link in the cards. You can go back and watch that if you want. In terms of my predictions for the shortlist, I feel like I'm not in a very good position to make any predictions. That being said, I don't think that Wild Houses will be on the shortlist. I'd be surprised if Wild Houses is on the shortlist, given that it's the one that I've read. I enjoyed reading this book. I thought it was a good read. It's the story of, I wrote this on my Instagram, so let me get it from my Instagram. Guys, if you're not following me on Instagram, I think it would be a good idea, because I do review books there sometimes before I get to review them here on my BookTube channel. My handle is the same handle as it's always been. It's the same handle as here, Stalking Kafka. This is a debut novel for those of you who are not aware. I'm sure everyone's aware. This is a debut novel from Irish writer Colin Barrett, and it was presented, or it's pitched as a crime novel, but it doesn't ultimately have a super original plot. There are not a lot of twists and turns to the plot. It's kind of a typical kidnapping, ransom for money owed by drug dealers situation. And so I think if you're looking for something with a lot of plot, it's going to be a bit of a disappointment. It was kind of a disappointment for me, because not just because of the plot, like it was fine, it was good, there was nothing bad I didn't think about the book. I just didn't think it was exceptional in any way. It reminded me a lot, I mean, just to say that the two characters that the narrative focuses on is a character named Dev, who is the character who is kidnapped, the brother of the drug dealer. Nikki, who is another character who gets pulled into this world of crime. So these are two peripheral characters who are sucked into this world, and their backstories are told through the telling of the story. It reminded me a lot of Demon Copperhead, actually. It gave me Demon Copperhead vibes, but I didn't think it was like Demon Copperhead as a character was exceptional, and although the character work was good in Wild Houses, I don't think it was as elevated as Barbara Kingsolver's work on Demon Copperhead. And I mean, her work is exceptional, so I mean, I think it's hard to get to that level. But yeah, it was engaging. The backstories were interesting. The characters were interesting. But I found the writing to be kind of average. I didn't think the writing was exceptional really in any way. And because it wasn't super plotty, I think it's going to be a disappointment for quite a few people. And a lot of people are wondering, why is this on the Booker list? I think it has its merits, but I would agree with those comments. I'm not quite sure what it's doing there on the Booker long list. But I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was phenomenal or fantastic. So I would be surprised if this makes it to the short list. From everything that I'm hearing, I think the shoo-ins for the short list are, of course, My Friends, which I hope to get to like imminently, and James, which I don't have my copy of. Those two are, I think, probably shoo-ins. It would be a bit of a shock if they weren't on the short list. And then from there, I've seen all kinds of different predictions. I think it's kind of anyone's game from there. And so I'm a little reticent to make any predictions, like I said, because I haven't read any of the others yet. I think the Safekeep probably has a decent chance because I've heard it's really good, and Stoneyard Devotional. Those are the two that I think might find a spot. And I think actually probably maybe Held, because of its being so literary and challenging for some. And then I guess if I had to round it out, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read them. My last pick would maybe be Headshot or Orbital. I actually have Headshot waiting for me as well on hold at the library. I think my plan is to wait till Monday. I know I'm going to be reading, as I said, My Friends for sure, but I'm going to wait for the short list to come out, and then we'll see. I might read the rest of the short list if it appeals to me, or I might not. We shall see. So in terms of the National Book Award, I did want to react to the long list. It's interesting because if you go back and look at my predictions list for the Booker Prize, 3 or maybe even more, I didn't go back and count, but I think I predicted 3 of the books that I predicted for the Booker are on the National Book Awards. My Friends, Martyr, and All Fours. I think those are the ones that I predicted. I'd have to go back and check. So the chair of this year's National Book Award fiction finalists is Lauren Groff, and I think that she's done really an incredible job here with this list. It's a really interesting balance between big kind of heavy hitter books that people are talking about and smaller, lesser known authors. And it's a mix of short story collections and novels, and I just think it's a pretty good looking list. I'm just going to go through the books one by one and talk a little bit about which ones interest me the most. So in terms of the crossover between the Booker Longlist and the National Book Award, I'll go through the books that are listed on both first and talk a little bit about each of them. First is James by Percival Everett, which I've already talked about on this channel. It's really, I think, one level above anything else that I've read, at least one level above anything else that I've read this year, except for Invisible Man, potentially, and maybe East of Eden. So the classics that I've read this year, but still, like, James is quite exceptional. And I think for the National Book Award, with the idea that the National Book Award, well, I don't know if it's as much with the National Book Award as with the Pulitzer, but this idea that it's meant to represent American life, I do think that James stands a really good chance, maybe even a better chance of winning the National Book Award over the Booker. I think it's possible that, I'm saying it now, I think it's possible that my friends might win the Booker. I'm saying it now. These are predictions. Who knows? I'm not going to win a prize or anything. I'm just going to be able to gloat at the end of it all. But James, if you're not already aware, is set, it's a narrative that is built off of Huckleberry Finn. It's been presented as a reimagining of Huckleberry Finn, but I would say that it's more drawn on the storyline, but pulling out the perspective of Jim. Jim, this character in Huckleberry Finn, who is a slave, is the main character in James, Percival Everett's narrative, and already with the naming we can see this theme of reclaiming identity, even just through the name going from Jim to James. But really that's what this book is about, is telling James's story. And so it takes place along the Mississippi River, and it's set in 1861. There are a lot of different themes that he explores in the book that I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on today. Again, I've reviewed it, so please take a look at that review if you want to hear more. But I just think that James is so well crafted. It's not a long book. It's not an overly verbose story. It uses simple language, it uses humor, it uses irony. It's so well written and it's so well crafted that I would be surprised if it didn't win above these other books. In addition to James, we have My Friend by Hisham Matar. This, as I say, is my prediction for winning the Booker Prize. This, even though I haven't read it yet, I think it's going to win. It was the winner of the Orwell Prize for political fiction. It's a novel about Khaled and Mustafa, who meet at the University of Edinburgh. They're two 18-year-old students that are from Libya, and they're expecting to return after they've completed their studies. Then they decide to travel to London to join a demonstration at the Libyan embassy, and government officials open fire on the protesters at that demonstration. And both of the friends are wounded and their lives are changed forever. So Khaled and Mustafa and their friend Hisham, who is a writer, are bound together by their shared history, and it's about their story. I don't know that much more than that. Really, that's just the summary. Like I said, I haven't read it yet, but because of the topic, because of the story, because of what I've been hearing other people say about it, I think it stands a really good chance to win the Booker Prize, and I would be shocked if it's not on the short list. The other book that has overlap with the Booker Prize is Creation Lake from Rachel Kushner. This is one that I was super interested in when I first heard about the Booker longlist. It sounds really good. I just can't get my hands on it, or haven't been able to get my hands on it yet. It's about a spy for hire, Sadie Smith, who has sent by her mysterious but powerful employers to a remote corner of France. And her mission is to infiltrate a commune of radical eco-activists influenced by the beliefs of their enigmatic leader, Bruno Lacombe, who has rejected civilization, lives in a Neanderthal cave, and believes the path to enlightenment is a return to primitivism. I've heard that this book is really well researched, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. Do I think it's going to win either of these prizes? No, I don't think so. I don't know why. Just the vibe I'm getting is no. I remember last year, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Poor Eleanor Catton with Burnham Wood. So even if Creation Lake turns out to be a book that I really enjoy and really like, I have a feeling that that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be A, shortlisted, or B, win. It'd be nice to see it shortlisted for the Booker, but I'm just not sure because as I say, I haven't read it. Maybe I would swap out Headshot. I mean, it's just, for me, I feel like it could be any. It could be Headshot, it could be Orbital, it could be, I don't know. I'm not sure how they're going to make that decision better than me, I would say. So those are the 3 books that have crossover with the Booker. Then from there, the other books that I predicted for the Booker that are on the National Book Awards long list, which I'm really chuffed about, frankly. The first is Martyr, which I've been wanting to read. Oh, I've been wanting to read this for so long. Actually, on Instagram, there is a read-along. Who is hosting that read-along? There's a read-along for Martyr in October. I can't remember which Instagram account is hosting it, but I will leave the information linked in the description box below if anybody wants to join in. And I'd be happy to host a group of people on Voxer if people are interested in reading Martyr. If you haven't read Martyr yet, maybe we could read it all together in October as well. You know, I've been hosting these read-alongs, might as well go for another one. So just let me know in the comments below if you're interested. I would probably run it for the month of October. This story, which honestly, I'm a little surprised wasn't listed for the Booker, especially after reading Wild Houses. This just sounds so much more interesting, and it sounds like it has more to say about, like, it sounds more literary, frankly. It's about Cyrus Charms, who lost his mother in a plane crash, or the plane was shot down over the Persian Gulf when he was just a baby, when he was really, really little. And he is exploring this idea of martyrdom. He meets an artist. That artist is doing an installation. I think this artist is dying of cancer, if I'm not mistaken, and doing an installation. And it's through their friendship that this concept of martyrdom is explored. I don't have the full summary in front of me, but that is what I remember. So correct me if I'm wrong. And let me know if you want to do a read-along of Martyr with me in October. I don't know, that was just off the cuff. That would be super fun, though. I'm definitely going to read it. I also predicted All Fours by Miranda July to be on the Booker Prize long list. It was overlooked by the Booker, but it was recognized here on the National Book Awards long list. And I'm really happy about that because I would like to read it. I've heard it's very good. I've heard it's topical in a sense that might be personally relevant to me, just because it's about a woman who's in middle age and she's an artist, and she decides that she's going to drive across the country from LA to New York. And she leaves her husband and her child at home. The summary says it tells the story of one woman's quest for a new kind of freedom. Part absurd entertainment, part tender reinvention of the sexual, romantic, and domestic life of a 45-year-old female artist. All Fours transcends expectations while excavating our beliefs about the life lived as a woman. But I think it just sounds, again, more literary. It's a literary book. I can tell it's going to be a reflective literary book for a person at a very specific time in their lives. I was considering reading it for the Framed Challenge because it is about a woman artist, but again, I've been having trouble getting a copy of this book. I am waiting for it to come in at my library. So just to say, those copies are available, like in a hard copy. I could go out and buy the hard copy of All Fours. I could go out and buy the hard copy of Creation Lake, but I don't like buying hardbacks, and even if it's for prize season, I'd rather read it honestly on an ebook if I absolutely have no choice, or get it from my library and then pick up the paperback later, which I'll get to in a minute when I do my book haul. I'm also going to be doing a little bit of a book haul in this video, I forgot to mention. The other 5 books I have not heard of, which is always fantastic. when it's a new author to you or a book that you haven't heard of. Okay, so for these next 5, I'm just going to have to read what I have because I don't know them. I'm not familiar with them. So You're Dead. The description is in between the space of time when Ezra lights themselves on fire and when Ezra dies, the world of this book flashes before their eyes. Everyone Ezra's ever loved, every place they felt queer and at home or queer and out of place reveals itself in an instant. Unfolding in fragments of memory, Ezra dissolves into the family, religion, desire, losses, pains, and joys that made them into the person that's decided on this final act of protest. Told in lyric fragments that span both lifetimes and geography, You're Dead is a queer, Jewish, diasporic, coming-of-age story that questions how our historical memory shapes our political and emotional present. That sounds really good, doesn't it? Very imaginative. I wonder if I'll be able to get a hold of that one. I probably will be able to get a hold of that. We'll see. It's always getting the books that's the issue. Less so for the National Book Award than for the Booker, I must admit, being here in Canada. I think it's harder the other way around for the British booktubers and readers. The next is a set of short stories called Ghostroots by Pemi Aguda. And this is about a set of short stories centering around the lives of different characters in Lagos. It says the Lagos of these 12 sinister and beguiling stories is multifaceted, peopled by Pentecostal Christians and exasperated atheists, by tight-knit extended families and struggling single fathers. Here are characters cursed by guilt, bound by the ties of ancestors and community, or enchanted by the allure of mysticism and would-be prophets. There are gossips and party girls, and a schoolboy followed home by a group of tribal masquerades, cloaked in feathers and twinkling beads. Yes, his mother has warned him not to bring strangers home, but he is sure she will understand. Oh, this sounds really good. I've always enjoyed stories set in Nigeria or about Nigerian society, so I think that could be very interesting. Then we have The Most by Jessica Anthony. I think this is a novella that takes place in the late 50s, early 60s. It says, Virgil Beckett, an insurance salesman, isn't particularly happy in his job, but he fulfills the role playing golf with the partners, drinking in the bar, chasing the women. Kathleen Beckett, once a promising tennis champion with a key shot up her sleeve called The Most, is now a mother and a homemaker. Somehow these two, who have been together since college, have fallen into the roles expected of them. The prescribed suburban dream they have been sold has something to covet, something that will fulfill their lives, we think. But not really, I bet. But on this unseasonably warm early November Sunday, Kathleen wakes up and decides that she will not be accompanying her family to church. I think that sounds pretty good as well. I don't know if it's something that's been done before, but it could be interesting. It's gotten lots of praise from other authors, in particular Percival Everett, who describes it as a truly fresh piece of art. If Percival Everett is going to endorse something, I'm definitely going to read it. I think that's enough of an endorsement for me. Actually, that's the one that I've been trying to get my hands on, but I'm having trouble finding it here in any of my local libraries. Then we have Catalina by Karla Cornejo Villavicencio. Hope I'm saying her name right. This is about a woman who is from Latin America. She's a refugee. She, as a child, escapes from, I guess, a violent situation, moves to Queens to be raised by her undocumented grandparents, and then becomes one of the chosen and gets into Harvard. The description says, nothing is simple for Catalina, least of all her own complicated, contradictory, ruthlessly probing mind. Now a senior, she faces graduation to a world that has no place for the undocumented. Her sense of doom intensifies her curiosities and desires. She infiltrates the school's elite subcultures, internships in literary journals, posh parties, and secret societies, which she observes with the eye of an anthropologist and an interloper's skepticism. She is both fascinated and repulsed. Craving a great romance, Catalina finds herself drawn to a fellow student, an actual budding anthropologist, eager to teach her about the Latin American world she was born into but never knew, even as her life back in Queens begins to unravel. That sounds a lot like And Then She Fell, doesn't it? This sounds really good as well. Fascinating. I had not heard of this at all. I'm so excited. It also has the academic setting and academia vibes, which are always fun. And I think it'll be really probably critical of academia, which is definitely up my alley. This last one I know I want to read. This is a set of interconnected short stories by Tony Tulathimutte. Hope I'm saying that correctly as well. Sharply observant and outrageously funny, Rejection is a provocative plunge into the touchiest problems of modern life. The 7 connected stories seamlessly transition between the personal crises of a complex ensemble and the comic tragedies of sex, relationships, identity, and the internet. In the Feminist, a young man's passionate allyship turns to furious nihilism as he realizes over 30 lonely years that it isn't getting him laid. A young woman's unrequited crush in Pics spirals into borderline obsession and the systematic destruction of her sense of self. Wow, these sound really intense, but really good. And in Ahegio, or The Ballad of Sexual Repression, a shy late bloomer's flailing efforts at a first relationship leads to a life-upending mistake. These brilliant satires explore the underrated sorrows of rejection with the authority of a modern classic and the manic intensity of a manifesto. Audacious and unforgettable. Oh, I really want to read Rejection. Wow. Great list, hey? I think it's a fantastic list. I love the balance there between ones that I've heard of and ones that I've not heard of or wouldn't have been able to predict, for example. That is so, so, so exciting. Let me know in the comment section below if any of those interest you or you're interested in reading them. And let me know if you want to join a read-along of Martyr maybe in October, and I can try to make that happen. It's just the seed of an idea right now. So I know this is already a bit of a long video, but I'm going to do a little mini book haul because I have accumulated a few books and I wanted to talk about them. I realized that I could have made 2 videos, but I also have a bunch of books that I finished reading that I want to talk about in my next video. So I'm going to talk about some books that I've purchased over the summer and the beginning of fall. The first book that I've been dying to get to that I got at this bookstore in Old Montreal is called Librairie Akbar, and they specialize in, I think, Middle Eastern or I don't know. They have a specialization. I'll leave a link to their bookstore website below. Oh, Maktaba. Sorry, not Maktabar. Maktaba. This is their bookmark that came in the book. Great little bookstore in Old Montreal if you live in Montreal. I have been wanting to read this for such a long time and I finally picked it up. This is a short story collection, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, that got so much attention on BookTube and on Bookstagram a couple of years ago. It explores the raw and tender places where Black women and girls dare to follow their desires and pursue a momentary reprieve from being good. It's a set of short stories that I've heard nothing but fantastic things about. It was a finalist for the National Book Award, so it's theme adjacent. And yeah, I'm really excited that I found that, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I hope to read it this year. I also ordered Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit because I was ordering some books for my daughter's literature classes on Thrift Books, because that's the only place that you can find half of the books that are necessary for her literature courses. And I was really interested in this. It's the winner of the White Bread First Prize for Best Fiction, but like, I don't know what year. What year would that have been? I didn't look it up. It was written in 1985. So the main character is Jeanette, a bright and rebellious orphan who is adopted into an evangelical household in the dour industrial north of England and finds herself embroidering grim religious mottos and shaking her little tambourine for Jesus. Oh, it sounds so good. But as this budding missionary comes of age and comes to terms with her unorthodox sexuality, the peculiar balance of her God-fearing household dissolves. Jeanette's insistence on listening to the truths of her own heart and mind and on reporting them with wit and passion makes for an unforgettable chronicle of an eccentric moving passage into adulthood. This is supposed to be a classic, and I'm so happy that I own it. Okay, this next one I have to admit that I only purchased because of the cover, because look at the cover. I mean, I did read the summary and decided that the cover is amazing and the book sounds fun. This is called Cherry, a novel by Nico Walker. It's about a young medic who returns from deployment in Iraq to two things: the woman he loves and the opioid crisis sweeping across the Midwest. Soon, deep in the thrall of heroin addiction, he arrives at what seems like the only logical solution: robbing banks. This book sounds so fun. I hope it's as good as it sounds. Written by a singularly talented, wildly imaginative debut novelist, Nico Walter's Cherry is a bracingly funny and unexpectedly tender work of fiction from the dark heart of America. I don't know, it just sounded like it could be good. I hope it is. I will report back. Next, I don't actually own or have ever read anything by Sarah Waters. So I picked up, I had a hard time choosing which one to start with because everybody says something different. I think I asked on one of my socials and everyone had a different answer. So I picked up Fingersmith because it sounded like it would be up my alley. It's about Sue Trinder, orphaned at birth, who grows up among petty thieves, the Fingersmiths, under the rough but loving care of Mrs. Saxby and her family. One day, Gentleman, an elegant con man, arrives with a proposition for Sue. If she works as a maid to Maud Lily, a gentlewoman, and aids Gentleman in her seduction, they will all share in Maud's vast inheritance. This just sounds so good, and I haven't read anything by Sarah Waters, and I really want to get on the Sarah Waters bandwagon. So I picked it up, and I think this will be a great like fall into winter read as well. I also kind of on a whim picked up The Postcard. Now this is not a book that I talked about for Women in Translation Month picks that I had chosen, but it could have been. It's translated from the French by Anne Patchett, and this is a World War II story. It's supposed to be really good. A couple of people were recommending this to me over and over again, and I thought, yeah, I should pick it up. It is at once a gripping investigation into family trauma, a poignant tale of mothers and daughters, and a vivid portrait of 20th century Parisian intellectual and artistic life. It starts out January 2003. Together with the usual holiday cards, an anonymous postcard is delivered to the Barret family. I'm saying Barret because I'm making the S silent. I'm assuming that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. On the front, a photo of the Opéra Garnier in Paris. On the back, the names of Amber's maternal great-grandparents, Ephraim and Emma, and their children, Noémie and Jacques, all killed at Auschwitz. Years after the postcard is delivered, the heroine of this novel is moved to discover who sent it and why. This just sounds so good. Yeah, sounds so good. Anyway, I'm really hoping to get to this one soon as well. See, with all the prize reading, it kind of moves out some other books that I would maybe read, so I'm going to try to be selective with my prize reading. I'm not going to read, I don't think, books that I'm not super interested in for the prizes. Sorry, everyone, I'm not one of those booktubers that reads all of the long lists, and, you know, it's not my thing. I like making the predictions and stuff, that's fun, but I can't read the whole long list for each of these prizes. Sorry, that was a side. I picked up Beware the Woman by Megan Abbott. This was talked about a lot by journalists and reviewers last year as being one of the best books of the year, so I decided to grab it when I was in Rockport this summer on a vacation. I think it's supposed to be a thriller. It says, "Honey, I just want you to have everything you ever wanted." That's what Jaycee's mom always told her, and finally Jaycee did. Newly married and with a baby on the way, Jaycee and her husband Jed embark on their first road trip together to visit his father. The moment they arrive at the cottage snug within the woods, Jaycee feels bathed and loved by the hospitable Dr. Ashe. But their Edenic first days take a turn when JC has a health scare. Swiftly, activities are scrapped and all eyes are on JC's condition. Suddenly, whispers about Jed's long-dead mother and complicated family history seem to eerily impinge upon the present, and JC begins to feel trapped in the cottage. Her every move surveilled. Oh, this sounds a little bit like P.D. James, doesn't it? Or Patricia Highsmith? What is the book that I'm thinking of? Anyway, I thought it could be a fun thriller. I was thinking I would read it in the summer, but maybe it's going to be more of a winter thriller for me. It's that being trapped in the cottage and everyone's your enemy vibes. And then I picked up Ripe by Sarah Rose Eater. Look at this cover. Look at how much energy I have for somebody who's not feeling well. I just get so excited when I talk about books. It just says, a year into her dream job at a cutthroat Silicon Valley startup, Cassie finds herself trapped in a corporate nightmare. In addition to the long hours, toxic bosses, and unethical projects, she struggles to reconcile the glittering promise of a city where obscene wealth lives alongside abject poverty. Ivy League grads complain about the snack selection from a conference room with a view of unhoused people bathing in the bay. Startup burnouts leap into the paths of commuter trains, and men set themselves on fire in the streets. Okay. It says, sharp but vulnerable, funny yet unsettling, Ripe portrays one millennial woman's journey through a late capitalist hellscape and offers an incisive look at the absurdities of modern life. Okay. Yeah. This sounds so good. I guess that's a pomegranate on the front. What do you guys think is on the front of this cover? I think it's a pomegranate. Then not recently, but some time ago, I did a list of books to keep your eye out for in 2024, or maybe it was, yeah, I think that's what it was, from the Globe and Mail. And one of the books on the list was The Lost Tarot. And it sounded very interesting to me, or intriguing, about this woman, Teresa Bateman. It's set in Toronto, and Teresa is a struggling junior art historian. And she receives a single tarot card in the mail. The image is unmistakably the work of celebrated avant-garde artist Lark Ringgold, and its discovery would mean a breakthrough in Teresa's career. But the legendary tarot card that she supposedly sent doesn't exist. Its paintings were lost in a fire that claimed Lark's life along with dozens of others. The final horrific implosion of a notorious cult called the Shone. See, I feel like I could read this for October, like for Halloween season. I think this is going to be maybe something that I read for spooky season. I was super happy to also be able to order this one from Thrift Books because, what was it, a month ago or maybe even only 3 weeks ago, when the riots were taking place in Britain, I just became super disturbed, and I thought, you know, what can I do more than whatever it is that I do? And I remembered this book being talked about maybe 2 years ago around BookTube, What White People Can Do by Emma Dabiri. And I thought, you know what? If I'm going to try to recommend this to people, I should read it. So I ordered it from Thrift Books, and I think I'm definitely going to be reading it for Nonfiction November, if not before, but probably not until Nonfiction November, although it's pretty slim. So I think this is quite an important book, and I've heard nothing but fantastic things about it, and I'm really happy that I was able to grab it. And yeah, looking forward to learning more, understanding more about what I, as a white woman, can do in situations that are racist. And then finally, what's in my bag? As some of you probably know who've been watching my channel, I am currently judging the final round of the BookTube Prize. And one of the books that is in the finalist group, I've read all of the books that are in the finalist grouping, but the one that's probably the farthest out that I read last year is The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. And I'm so happy because I adore the colors of this cover. It's the same imagery, but the colorway is different, and I just really like this cover. And I picked it up at an independent bookstore here in Montreal called Pulp Books in Verdun. I'll leave a link to their website in the description box below. And I'm just really happy it's out in paperback, and I'm doing a reread of it ahead of the rankings for the finalists for the BookTube Prize, because I thought I should probably reread it because it's been a while. Rereading it, though, I will say it is as good, if not better, than the first time reading it. It is so funny. Like, I've only just started rereading and I'm laughing, laughing, laughing. It's so, so good, you guys. If you haven't read The Bee Sting yet, seriously, here's a cool bookmark that came with my book from Pulp. Anyway, I'll leave their info in the description box below. At Pulp, they do have a good selection in their inventory at Pulp, I must say. I found this one, The Parisian by Isabella Hamad, in that finalist grouping. I think that Enter Ghost is in the finalist grouping. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'll double check. But I recently read Enter Ghost for the semifinals of the BookTube Prize and really enjoyed her book. And this is a chunker. This one is 550 pages. It's her debut novel. It says, The Parisian leads us on an extraordinary journey through the life and romances of one young man, from his studies in France during World War I to his return to Palestine at the dawn of its battle for independence. Rich and immersive and devastating in its power, The Parisian is a love story that illuminates a pivotal period of Palestinian history and a tour de force from a brilliant new voice in fiction. I really want to read this so much. It's so thick, but I really, really want to read it. I'm not sure when I'm going to fit it in, but now that I own it, I feel like there's much more of a chance of my reading it. 50% higher chance of my reading it, at least. Along those lines, I also picked up Acts of Desperation by Megan Nolan. I read Ordinary Human Failings ahead of the Women's Prize this year, and I really liked it. I'll leave a link to my review of it. It's had a few issues, but I thought the character work in that book was really good. And it made me want to read her first novel. I like the cover. She's 23 and in love with love. He's older and the most beautiful man she's ever seen. The affair is quickly consuming. But this relationship is unpredictable, and behind his perfect looks is a mean streak. She's intent. Ooh, the mean streak. She's intent on winning him over. Oh, this all just sounds so familiar to me. But neither is living up to the other's ideals. He keeps emailing his glamorous ex, and she's starting to give in to secret, shameful cravings of her own. With unsettling, mesmerizing power, Acts of Desperation dissects one of life's most elusive mysteries. Why do we want what we want? Why do we want what we want? Okay, so looking forward to that as well. And then the last book in my little book haul, it's quite a big book haul actually, let's face it, is My Husband by Maud Ventura. I keep hearing about this book. I've been wanting to read it for a while. It looks so good. At 40 years old, she has an enviable life, a successful career, stunning looks, a beautiful house in the suburbs, 2 healthy children, and most importantly, an ideal husband whose wealthy background allows her to transcend her own social class. After 15 years together, she is still besotted with him, but she's never quite sure that her passion is reciprocated. Determined to keep their relationship perfect, she meticulously prepares for every encounter they have, always taking care to make her actions seem effortless. She watches him attentively, testing him to make sure that he still loves her just as much as he did when they first met, until one day she realizes she may have gone too far. Oh, it just sounds so interesting to me. So yes, that is my that's my book haul. That is my huge stack of books. Oh, I can't even lift them all up from my book haul. That's a lot of books. I'm really excited to add them to my shelves and get to them, hopefully some of them in the fall. Let me know what you think of my book haul. Let me know if you want to join in the Martyr read along, if I hold one, if it's something that you're interested in. If you're new to my channel, say hi in the comments. And I'll see you all in my next video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye for now. You guys want to know what's in my bag? Do you guys really want to know what's in my bag? Because I'm going to tell you. And in their and then, bleh. But they're Edenic, first Edenic. My friends, guys, I can't find my copy of James. Okay, so of course, drug. It's supposed to be a crime novel, and it's the story of a drug dealer who owes another thug money, and that thug and that thug and his brother kidnap the drug dealer's brother. Wait, is that right?